From the Corner Office is brought to you by Synovus Bank, championing business growth through trusted, relationship-driven banking throughout the Gulf Coast region. Jennie Compton is the opposite of the cliche that nice guys finish last. Jennie is unflailingly nice and is also the managing partner of Shumaker, a top 200 law firm. It's a high-pressure, high-impact job leading a law firm of other high-achieving Type A professionals. I've known Jennie for years and have known people who have worked with her and hired her. And the consensus about Jennie is this. She is a skilled attorney with an empathetic side who also finds time to lead several nonprofit and civic efforts around town. She's also the type of leader the Business Observer loves to write about in print and online. For more, subscribe. Go to businessobserverfl.com. Hello and welcome to the Business Observer's From the Corner Office podcast. I'm Mark Gordon, managing editor of the Business Observer. Today's guest is Jennie Compton, national managing partner of Shumaker, a law firm. Jennie, welcome and thanks for being here.
Thanks, Mark, for having me.
Got to say, before we get into some questions, Jennie, you and I have known each other for maybe 10 or 15 years, quite a while. We've talked about stories and stuff. You are absolutely one of the nicest, kindest, sweetest people in Sarasota. I would say you and former guest Heather Caston, the CEO
Love Heather.
as you know, obviously is the Sarasota Chamber of Commerce. If somebody were to say who are the two nicest people in Sarasota right away, I would say Jennie and Heather. I absolutely would say that.
Oh, what nice words. Thank you, Mark.
Yes.
You're not too bad yourself either.
Very
And I think we could use a little bit more kindness in the world. So I really appreciate those words.
100%. I totally mean that. All right, but let's get into it. Let's let our audience get to know you a little bit better. We're going to start with some rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Can I put you on one thing though?
Yes.
Name of the firm is Shumaker, not Shumaker.
Did I say Shumaker? I meant Shumaker.
Okay. Well, now you got it right. You're welcome.
Excellent. All right. This or that leadership edition. Okay. Vision or execution? Which is more important as a leader, I should say? Vision or execution?
Vision for sure. Execution certainly matters because there's a lot of good dreams that die when there's poor execution. But without any vision, you never have the opportunity to execute.
Data, what's more important again, data or intuition?
Intuition. I think data informs, but intuition tells you why it's important and gets you off go.
Consensus or decisiveness?
This might be controversial. I think decisiveness. Someone's got to make the decision. So while you certainly spend time consensus building, listening, things like that, at the end of the day, as a leader, you have to make the decisions.
I was especially curious about how you would answer that one because as an attorney, you gotta, yes, there's compromises obviously in what you're doing, but you have a lot of decisions you have to make.
Yes, and multiple a day, and you don't have time to stop and make sure that everybody's okay with every decision.
Yeah. As a leader, do you prefer a coach, being a coach or a challenger?
I think the best coaches are challengers because challengers get someone to think about what they might be able to do, and a coach gives them the courage to believe in themselves that they can do it.
I like that. Are you optimistic or realistic?
I would say realism with a dose of optimism. You never want to be naive, but you also don't want to be cynical.
Speed or perfection?
Speed, 100%. I gave up the idea of perfection many years ago, and in the law particularly, you've got to be able to move very quickly in order to get to the best result.
And last one, do you prefer to hire for skill or attitude?
Attitude. I assume people are skilled. I can teach skills, but I can't teach character, integrity, work ethic, attitude.
Yeah, and this would be true in a lot of fields, but certainly in the legal field, that would be pretty important for sure. Okay, all right, excellent. That's good. All right, we're going to revisit some of those as we get into this. But again, sticking on a little bit to let our audience know who you are, you're basically the CEO of the firm. What does that mean? I mean, we know what a CEO is, obviously, but what does your role, national managing partner, day to day sort of entail?
So it's a little bit different in a professional services firm because I'm still a partner and as much an owner as others in the firm are. For 98 years, we didn't have a managing partner. We had a chair of the management committee, of which I served in that role, and we were governed by a management committee made up of anywhere between 6 and 9 folks. In 2024, we changed it to have a full-time managing partner, CEO, if you will, in a partnership situation. And we ran a process, and I was the one that was asked to serve. So I'm coming up on my 2-year anniversary. What it means, really, at the end of the day, is I wake up every morning thinking about what can we do to make our firm stronger and better for today and tomorrow.
And you're doing that. And as you said, you're still, I mean, you're always an attorney, but you have an active caseload clients uh, in your attorney life.
Not so much anymore. Part of this is I had to give up the majority of my law practice. This will shock you. I wrote my own contract. So I did work it in there that I had to keep about 300 hours of work. So I still get to dip my toe in. And I think that's important because I need to be able to remember what it's like to be a practicing attorney while leading a group of attorneys. But no, I spend 95% of my time on management, day to day operations, working with my CFO, my COO, my management committee on the day to day of the firm.
Yeah. And it's probably, as you said, it's important so you can know what it's like. But I bet you probably like some of it too, right? You were an attorney for, several years before moving into this role.
Thank you for saying several. Yes, I practiced full time for 28 years,
Yes.
and I love practicing law. And I was asked even earlier this week, do you ever miss being able to practice law full time? And the answer is absolutely, because I thoroughly enjoyed it. Luckily, I am getting professional enjoyment as well from my new position. But yeah, I loved practicing law.
Yeah. Right. It's like that thing in a lot of companies. You get really good at something and they're like, hey, we should promote you. And then
Right.
you're like, wait a minute, I'm not doing the things that I was really good at that led to the promotion, right? It's a balance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. But which I understand and I get, and again, I still get to do a little bit of it, and feel like I still am a practicing lawyer, which is nice.
Yeah. On the leadership part, how did you sort of grow and develop as a leader? Did you read outside materials? Did you take leadership classes? How did you grow into that role?
Yes, to all the above. I started working my way up through leadership in our firm many years ago, marketing partner, office managing partner, member of the management committee, chair of the firm, things like that. But when I took this role, one of the things that I requested was that I actually go to Harvard Law School's executive education for law firm management. So in April of 2025, I went to Cambridge, lived there for 7 days, and with 54 people from around the world that also ran either large groups in large firms or law firms, learned everything we didn't know about how to lead a law firm. And it was really transformational, Mark. I have to say that that week I learned more, and the fact that I could focus only on my law firm for 10 days. I mean, that was a gift. So that was a big factor in it. I read leadership books like crazy, including our friend A.G. Lafley's, uh, one of my favorite, Playing to Win. And we just hosted our first ever leadership summit where we had all of our office managing partners, national service line leaders together, and we asked them to read 3 books that I love: Extreme Ownership, Leading Through Change, and Leaders Eat Last. Those should be on any leader's recommended book list.
Yeah, they're all great. Leaders Eat Last is one of my favorites as well. That's I try and model some of my thinking on a lot of that when I lead my small but mighty business observer team. All right, so and go back. So at Harvard, that's really interesting. Is there anything? I'm sure there is, but what stands out as something that you've utilized in that year plus since you took that course as a leader that you're using today? A lesson or tip or suggestion that you learned?
Not being afraid to believe in innovative leadership and adaptive leadership. They weren't teaching us how to balance a budget. They weren't teaching us how to get lawyers to go do something. It was about the skills that I actually use every day, which is how do you adapt in this ever changing legal industry. And that's really what I have took away from it and really believed in. Innovative leadership, I already believed in, but learning how to put that into play in a law firm setting, because law firms are not really usually very innovative.
Yeah, yeah,
So that That was what I took away from it. One of the best benefits from it was the peer group that I got as well. My WhatsApp will blow up probably during this interview with somebody from somewhere in the world asking a question that they're facing in their law firm, and they'll get 10 to 12 answers from those of us that were together for that week.
Really? And so this is where we're 15 months after, and you're still actively communicating with your cohort, your group.
Absolutely. Got
Yeah.
together with one when I was in Paris. I got together with one when I was in New York. I missed the IBA conference in Toronto, but I had
Yeah.
plans to get together with some there.
Yeah. Awesome. Very cool. You mentioned innovation. I want to switch gears a little bit. AI comes up all the time and really in any industry. And I'm wondering about the legal industry because there's so much legal stuff you have to protect in terms of your clients, information, data. What's sort of the overall general 30,000 square foot view on AI in the legal industry and at your firm?
I was going to say, how much time do you have? Because we
Yeah.
could probably talk about this for hours. And the legal industry is not dissimilar to other industries. I mean, we know that AI is disrupting just about every industry out there. In law, in particular, um, what we're finding is that the law firms that are embracing AI and being what we call AI forward, figuring out it's not a matter of are we or aren't we, should we or shouldn't we, but you need to, and then figuring out how to do it ethically, responsibly, confidentially, as you mentioned. That was the real key. So we kind of leapfrogged most of our peers, and we started doing what a lot of the top AmLaw 50 firms were doing, which was we were piloting specific tools. About 18 months ago, we were selecting tools. There are about 3 that are built for law. We selected one. It ended up being the one that about 70% of the AmLaw 200 has picked. It's a closed system, so you can have the confidence that the information you're uploading is not going outside the bounds of the system that you're using. And then now we've been in the really hard part, which is the adoption and implementation stage. Um, but what we're seeing is a couple cool trends. It's some of the older in their career lawyers than younger career lawyers that are embracing it more than the younger folks, which I think is interesting. And we had a really fast adoption rate. We thought we were not going to get to a firm full license until the end of this year, and we got there about 6 months earlier. So right now, the latest stats that I looked at, about 85% of our lawyers, professionals, so paralegals, and our staff are using the legal AI tool that we have, not the
Yeah.
8 others, legal AI every single day.
Interesting. And as you said some of the older attorneys are embracing it more than the younger. I don't know if I wouldn't call that a trend, but things like that pop up, right? There was the UCF, which we've talked about on this From the Corner Office podcast, a previous episode, the UCF graduation where somebody, a developer came and talked about AI in her commencement speech and she got booed. And
Yeah.
so the younger crowd is not as embracing of it as we might think.
I think you're right. And I think it probably comes from fear, right? Because
Yeah.
I think they believe that they're going to be the ones replaced. And we don't believe that AI is going to replace lawyers. We believe AI is going to replace lawyers that don't know how to use AI. And that's what we're very focused on. The other interesting trend that I've seen is a year ago, it was all about replacing tasks, the rote tasks that had to be done and becoming more efficient. I almost feel like we've evolved from that now. That's still going on. I mean, but now everybody knows how to do that. And now we're really seeing people use AI as thought partners, which is really interesting. So going beyond what does this document say, but instead asking AI, for instance, on this appellate brief, ask me 5 hard questions and then give me the 5 arguments back based on my documents. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's way more advanced, Jenny. I'm thinking as we're recording July 1st. Yesterday I was working on a story for the Sarasota Observer and I had a photo with 2 dogs in the photo. I don't know anything about dogs and I wanted to know the breed of dogs. So this is my it's not as elaborate or advanced as the firm, but I put it into Chat GPT and said, and I was like, yes, I got my answer. So
We'll
of
see.
course,
So there's lots of purposes.
yes, and of course, as a reporter, I still don't believe ChatGPT, so I called somebody anyway to double check. Hey, you know this person who knows their dogs. Are they the yeah, so
And
uh
it was, but I mean, that's still the case. Trust and verify, right? And then the law, you have
absolutely.
to verify. that we've reviewed things, that we've checked all the cases. I'll tell you, the product is getting better. A year ago was about a 70% product. Now I'd say it's about an 85% product. So what it's doing is it's freeing up our lawyers to spend more time doing the really valuable work on strategy and managing the client relationship and kind of the more sophisticated work that, frankly, I don't think AI is ever going to be able to replace.
Yeah, agreed. All right, let's take a way step back, Jenny. How and why did you become an attorney?
Well, I wanted to be an attorney, Mark, since I was 4 years old. So I can't really tell you the why. Never had an attorney in my family. So I don't know where it came from. Maybe I like to argue. I don't know. Um, so by the time I could drive, I worked in a law firm every summer and Christmas. I've worked as a receptionist, a copy clerk back when we used to have runners, back when we used to scan a microfiche, all of those things, all the way up through law clerk and then attorney. So I've spent literally almost my entire life working in law firms. Like I said earlier, I love practicing law. So it was clearly the right choice.
Yeah, that's really cool. I did not know that. And I think that's really cool that you still love it, right? You don't always hear that from attorneys, that, at different stages, they still love it. So good for you for doing that. On more leadership questions, Jenny, what's a leadership characteristic you think every leader should have?
Integrity. I think that that's more important than anything. By definition, if you are a leader, you're going to have people that disagree with your decision. If they don't disagree with your decision, then you're not leading, you're pleasing, right? So you know that people are not going to necessarily agree with you. But if you act with integrity, if you're transparent in your communication, if you get to the why, not just the what, people are still going to question your decision, but they're not going to question your process or your intention. And
Yeah.
that's, I think, best leadership quality.
Transparent in your communication, so huge. It comes up a lot is kindness is clarity, right? Clarity is kindness, right? Both, be clear about what you're talking about for sure. What's a leadership lesson, Jenny, that you wish you know now that you wish you learned earlier in your career in life?
That leaders don't have to know everything. I can't tell you how much I exhausted myself early on, believing that I had to have all the answers for everything. And if I didn't, people were going to think I wasn't a good leader or I wasn't doing an effective job. And I learned a long time ago that it's not people expecting you to have the answers. They just want to know that they're in it with somebody that knows where they're going, how they're going to get there. And if they don't have the answers, they're going to find someone else that does. And
Yeah,
luckily, I'm a firm of 329 lawyers and advisors. And trust me, someone has the answer.
yeah, yeah. And you talk about this big firm. I'm curious, as a leader in the time that you've been in that leadership role there, how do you handle when people are looking to you for certainty and sometimes there isn't, right? Whether that could be just a crisis, a client crisis, an internal crisis. There's a lot of things that pop up. So how do you lead with certainty when maybe you're not certain?
Well, I think first of all, you admit that there is uncertainty. And I think that vulnerability, when you admit that, people respect. People want to know that you're going somewhere and you may not know exactly how you're going to get there, but you're going there. I think back to the COVID days and early COVID, February, March, April of 2020, we were meeting as a management committee every single morning at 8 a.m. because we wanted to make sure that we kept the doors open for 600 families across the country. We didn't know how we were going to do that. Nobody knew, right? It was
Yeah,
changing every single minute of every single day. But we knew that's where we were going to end up. So while there was a lot of uncertainty, the message that we were conveying to people is we are figuring it out on the fly. Be flexible with us, but know that we are going to get to the place where we're on the other side of this and all 600 families will be taken care of.
yeah, right. And obviously, you guys came through. Leaders have to also give feedback and also receive feedback. Tell us about one point in your career where you received some feedback that maybe was hard to hear at the time that you look back on and you're glad you adapted and adjusted to it.
Yeah, there was one time when a decision went a different way. And at first, I was upset about the decision not going the way that I wanted it to, because I do like to win. Um, then, when I learned that the reason why the decision didn't go my way was because we'd fallen short on how we'd communicated and how we'd explained. We didn't explain the why, candidly. We were just telling them the what and why they should do it, but not the reason why we were seeking to make the change. And that was hard to hear because I firmly believe in that example. If we had done the right job communicating, we would have had a different result. So I just internalized that. And now, even when I'm doing emails, I will oftentimes say why, in bold information, why this is important, what you need to know, what I'm asking you to do, so that I'm very clear in what it is. So it's still not perfect, but I
Yeah.
think that was a hard lesson to learn, Mark.
Yeah, I could see that. And I'm curious, as you've grown in your career, you mentioned you like to win and you're competitive. How do you handle those, personally, those setbacks where you feel like, maybe it was a trial or just a decision or something that you put your all into it, and for whatever reason, somebody decided the way that you don't think they should. How do you handle that?
Not well. I don't like to lose. So, but when you're a lawyer, I mean, they don't call it the fair house; they call it the courthouse. So, and as a litigator, I have won cases I should have lost. I have lost cases I should have won. But what it lets you sleep at night is knowing that I was as prepared as I could be. I tried my hardest. What keeps you up at night is when you're thinking, "Oh, I should have asked that question, or I should have sought out that piece of information." So, I like to say, I may not be the smartest person in that courtroom, but I will be the most prepared. And that's how even when I lose, I can sleep at night. I still don't like it
That's
though.
and that's great. What is it? So they don't call it the fair house; they call it the courthouse.
Yep.
I love
And
that.
very true.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good metaphor for life too, right? You and I, we were talking off camera about our sons. Yours a little bit older than mine. Mine's about to be 18, and that's a lesson that's hard. You got to keep pounding that into them that sometimes you're not going to get the thing that you think you deserved.
Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right. I hadn't thought about that as an analogy for life, even, but you're right. I mean, even when you work your hardest and try your best, and you may still not get whatever it is that you're trying to get.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right, excellent, Jenny. As we're winding down here on the podcast, one last question. As we're in summer here, summer 2026. What are you looking forward to most, either personally, professionally, the law firm, the rest of 2026? What's new and exciting on your horizon?
Well, our firm just turned 100 years old. I know we don't look a day over 88, but
Don't.
it is
Yeah.
100. And that was a big deal. So we turned 100 last year. We celebrated with the annual, actually, it's every other year, retreat of all the lawyers getting together. Our surprise guest was Tim Tebow, who came and
Really?
talked. Yep. I got to hug him 4 times. It was awesome.
And you are a Gator, correct?
I
So that's
Gator. And I
yes.
have to say this, even the folks in the room that were not Gators, the U of Mers, the FSUers, they were right there cheering for Tebow.
Because you have, I know for sure, you mentioned you have Seminoles, I know that, so
Yes.
interesting, so they were all down with it.
Absolutely. And I
Uh,
mean, and I think it's because Tebow, yes, he is a Gator, of
yeah,
course, but he's also just a really good leader and role model. And he talked to us about, the concept of team, and how the being a team can kind of transcend the work that you do. You're part of something bigger. And that really started a lot of things for us. And we did it purposely and intentionally. For instance, we did an entire literacy initiative. We think that the power that lawyers have are words. And so at first, we set out to impact 100,000 people through the power of words with our literacy initiative. We reached that in about 6 weeks. So then we said, okay, let's go to 250. We reached that in about 4 months. So then we swallowed hard and said, let's go to 1 million. And so by the end of last year, we were able to impact 1 million lives through literacy. And that was one book at a time, one homework helper, one little park over at the Bay, the library over there. So that's exciting. So all of that leads up to our next 100 years, and trying to figure out in a way that honors the legacy that we have of 100 years, but positions us very well for the future. And I think things like our being AI forward, our AI vision statement, I mean, it's a recruitment tool. I have to tell you, every recruitment meeting I'm in, I'm asking the lawyers, is your firm making the 7-figure investment in AI that we've made?
really
Because where do you want to be 5 years from now? Do you want to be part of the team that's already working on it, or do you want to be playing catch up? And we're seeing it happen. And it's
interesting.
not to say that those firms are doing something wrong. We
Yeah,
just think that we're being innovative in a way that, again, law is not usually innovative.
yeah, yeah, I know I said that was the last question, but I forgot to bring up the literacy program. Congratulations and credit to you for guys for doing that. That is so amazing and necessary. Is that still going on?
It is still going on. We stopped counting. We figured once we reached 1 million, we didn't need to pat ourselves in the back
Okay,
anymore. But yeah, we still have an email, literacy@shumaker.com, that we have had requests from TV shows, book companies, classrooms down in Venice. So we're still doing it. And the really cool part about that, Mark, was while we did write checks, it wasn't about writing checks. It was a grassroots movement. And all of our staff, everybody, every office, all 650 now employees, got to submit ideas and we would act on them. And no idea was too big or too small, which was really cool to see.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Jennie Compton, National Managing Partner of Shumaker Law Firm, thank you so much for joining us on the From the Corner Office podcast.
Well, thank you, Mark, for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you for listening to the Business Observer From the Corner Office podcast. I'm your host, Mark Gordon. This podcast was produced by Reed Corley of the Corley Company in Sarasota. To hear more episodes of From the Corner Office podcast, go to businessobserverfl.com.